Those things don't have to define you. There's good news for you today. If that is who you have been, that doesn't have to be who you are. Wanting revenge, holding grudges, hating people, that was who I was. But I became something different. So what changed? A lot of people refer to John as the apostle of love because he talks about love all the time. If you look through Matthew and Mark and Luke and John, John mentions Jesus talking about love more than any of the other gospel writers, the other writers of the stories of Jesus. In the book of 1 John, it's only 5 short chapters, at least 25 times, maybe more, depending on what translation you use. The word love is used in some form or fashion throughout that short letter. And so a lot of people refer to John as the apostle of love. Most people think that he's also the disciple whom Jesus loved. If you go to the book of John, his story of the life of Jesus here on this earth, he never mentions himself by name. But about a half dozen times, there's this disciple that Jesus loved that's mentioned. And so most scholars think that's John, that's him talking about himself. That he had a special connection with Jesus, that there was a special relationship that Jesus had with him compared to maybe some of the other apostles and some of the other disciples. And all these are nicknames that give you kind of a picture of who John was. He was a good preacher. He was a miracle worker. He was a close disciple of Jesus. He was all about us, demonstrating love and acceptance and compassion. But those are the things that describe who John became. That's not who John was when he first came into contact with Jesus. And John's before story is a lot different than John's after story. Because when we're first introduced to John, he's a fisherman. He's probably not very well educated. He's got a brother named James. They got a dad named Zebedee, and they're fishermen, which means at the time of life that he's at, that he's not a disciple following any kind of rabbi. And we've talked about in this church family before what an honor it was to be called by a rabbi to be a disciple. And most Jewish kids, at least most Jewish males, wanted at least a chance to become a disciple. And most of them were told, you're not good enough, you're not acceptable enough, you're not worthy enough. So if John, when Jesus comes along, is a fisherman with his dad, at some point John has been told, you're not good enough. That's the kind of guy that we see about John. But there's another kind of glimpse that you get into John's character and John's personality that you get from Jesus himself. There's a nickname that Jesus gave John and his brother James. And you find it in the book of Mark. Like I said, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John talk about Jesus when he is here on this earth. If you look in the book of Mark in chapter 3, you get a list of Jesus' apostles, these 12 guys out of all his disciples that he called to be kind of a closer union, closer connection, closer circle with him. And as you read through that list of names, Mark says this about James and John. He says, there's James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, and to them he, talking about Jesus, gave the name Boanerges, which means sons of thunder. This word Boanerges is an ancient Aramaic word, and it was translated in ancient documents as either thunder or tumult, like something that's fighting or wrestling or churning over. It's also sometimes translated as wrath. So sons of thunder, sons of fighting and tumult, sons of wrath. John is the son of thunder. That's the nickname that Jesus gave him. That is, Jesus is calling his disciples together, and he's calling Peter, and he's calling Simon and Matthew and all these different guys. He calls James and John, but to them, and for our purposes today, just specifically talking about John, he looks at him as like, son of thunder, Boanerges. And that almost, with the culture we live in nowadays, if somebody called you a son of thunder, that always feel like, am I like Thor? Am I like the son of thunder? I'm like connected to Zeus. I got power. I got strength. Is that what we're talking about? And I don't think that's what Jesus is getting at here. I don't think that's why he gave John that name. So why would Jesus pick to call John the son of thunder, the son of one who causes or is a part of something that's tumultuous and churning, the son of wrath? Well, let me give you a quick snapshot into some of John's character traits, even as he was a disciple of Jesus. One is in Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9, verse 38. John comes to Jesus and he says this, "Teacher, we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we told him to stop because he wasn't one of us." John got mad. John got angry that some guy was over here casting out demons in the name of Jesus, and he wasn't one of the 12. He wasn't one of the chosen ones. He wasn't part of our circle. And it infuriated him. And so he went over and told that guy, "Knock it off." This man is ridding someone of being imprisoned by demon possession. That would be a really good thing, right? You see somebody ridding someone else of demon possession, you're like, awesome, great. Can you do that again? Not John. John went over and told the guy, "You better stop it right now." Because he was angry about it. He was jealous. He was envious. That guy doesn't belong to us. How dare he? How dare he call on the name of Jesus to help someone out when he's not one of us? Go to the next chapter, Mark chapter 10. John and his brother James come to Jesus with a special request. It says that they came to him and said, "Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask." "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. And they replied, "Let one of us sit at your right and the other at your left in your glory." Now, they're picturing Jesus as most Jewish people in Jesus' day picture the Messiah. He's going to come, he's going to drive out the Gentiles, this Roman army and these Roman officials that have taken over the land that belongs to the people of God. And the Messiah was going to drive them out with his own glorious army, and he's going to reestablish the nation of Israel once again, and it was going to be this mighty, awesome nation blessed by God, and whoever was kind of his captains and his cabinet, they were going to be the ones that were going to be in charge and tell everybody else what to do. And James and John come to Jesus, and they say, "Okay, when that happens, when you come in your glory, when you come in this glorious kingdom that you're going to establish, we want to be on either side of you. We want to have the seats closest to the guy that's in charge, because those are the seats that have the most glory and most honor attached to them." And so we want to, it hasn't happened yet. We know it hasn't happened yet. You're going to establish this kingdom. But when you do, we want to go ahead and put our names on those spots right now. It's really not a very servant-minded request. It's not a very loving request. It's really self-focused, isn't it? This is all about me. And as they're asking this, they had to have known this was going to upset the other disciples. By the way, if you keep reading, it does upset the other disciples. They had to have known this is going to cause problems, but John doesn't care. Why? Because this is all about me. I want what's best for me. It's going to hurt somebody else. It's going to hurt their feelings. It's going to make them upset. I don't care, because it's all about me. Is that going to cause fights? Is that going to cause quarrels? Maybe. Doesn't matter. Save my spot, Jesus. That's the kind of attitude that John had. It wasn't about compassion. It wasn't about looking out for the needs of others. He was all about himself. Maybe one of the greatest examples is in the next book over from Mark, in the book of Luke. In Luke chapter 9, Jesus is on his way, heading toward the city of Jerusalem, and he's going to come to this small town. We don't know the name of the town. We don't know exactly which one it was, but it was mostly populated by people that we call the Samaritans. And Jews hated Samaritans. They thought they were the worst people on earth. They couldn't stand them. They talked bad about them. They cursed them. They did everything they could to avoid them. They thanked God that they weren't one of them. They couldn't stand to be around the Samaritans, but they needed a place to stay. And Jesus sends a couple messengers ahead of time and says, "I need a place to stay. If somebody has a place where me and my disciples can stay, let us know." And the word comes back, "We don't want you in our town." These Samaritans don't just say, "We don't really have a spot for you." They're like, "Please don't even enter our village. Don't even, you need to go to a different town. Just keep on walking. Don't even come to our town." Luke chapter 9, beginning verse 54. When the disciples James and John saw this, they asked, "Lord, do you want us to call fire down from heaven to destroy them?" But Jesus turned and rebuked them. And he and his disciples went out to another village. What is John's reaction? These Samaritans, these lower-than-life, scummy people, don't think that we're good enough to come into their town? Oh, no. We're not taking that, are we? And so what do they ask Jesus for? Jesus, you to say the word, and we will call fire down from heaven and completely destroy them. Understand, he's not saying we're just going to kill them. We want to wipe them off the earth. We want it to be as if they never existed. That is a little bit extreme. That's if you're going to react to something, that's not an equal and opposite reaction, is it? But that's John's reaction. These people who I already hate and who I already think less of are now treating me like I'm less than them. Let's just wipe them all out. Jesus, just give me the go signal, and I will pray for fire to come down from heaven and destroy them. Son of thunder. Son of wrath. That's John. That's who John was. John was angry, and John was selfish, and John was full of hatred and resentment, which is why John's story is such a beautiful before and after story. Because the man who is known as the Son of Thunder, the man who is known for his anger and his desire for revenge and his judgment and his criticism and his lack of acceptance and his lack of compassion, became the one who is known for love, mercy, grace, compassion, hope. And I think that John's story is probably a story that a lot of us can relate to. I think there's a lot of us that when we look at our own personal stories, our own personality traits, and our own struggles, there's some things that we can find in common with each other, and especially this morning with John. Because I think there's a lot of us that can look at when we say, what are you struggling with? What are the problems in your life? What are the temptations? What are you wrestling with? There's a lot of us that are dealing with, addictions and hurtful habits and things like that. But a lot of us are like, there's some habits that I probably need to work on, but I don't have any addictions that are ruining my life. They're ruining the lives of the people around me. I don't really struggle with lying or being dishonest. I'm not a cheater. I don't feel like I'm very greedy. I feel like I'm pretty content with what I have. I don't really have a lot of anxiety. I don't wrestle with a lot of fear and a lot of doubt. But let somebody treat me bad. Better yet, let somebody treat somebody that I care about bad. What's my reaction? Do I want to retaliate? Do I want to hit back? Do I want to do to them not just what they did to me or somebody I care about, but maybe a little worse? Do I want to make sure that they get what I think they deserve? I mean, let's be honest. That's a struggle for a lot of us, isn't it? Anger, resentment, envy, jealousy, self-focus. What's best for me? Oh, we wrestle with that a lot. And that's what John wrestled with as well. And it was such a struggle for John that it became part of what people knew about him. It became part of what Jesus used to define him. And if that's what you struggle with, if you're sitting here this morning going, man, I struggle with my anger. I struggle with holding on to grudges. I struggle with just a desire to get revenge or to get even or to fire back and retaliate. Hear me this morning. Those things don't have to define you. There's good news for you today. If that is who you have been, that doesn't have to be who you are. And I know that because of what I see in John's story. I think that if John was here today, John would say, yeah, man, I struggle with those things too. Wanting revenge, holding grudges, hating people, that was me. That was who I was. But I became something different. So what changed? What changed for John? It's not, I'll go ahead and tell you ahead of time, it's not this deep, surprising answer. The big change for John that changed his story from who he was to who he became was his relationship with Jesus Christ.